Hi class, I'm gonna go over this video that will go over the final project. So make sure you look at this video before you start the final project. So far in this class, the majority of the projects you have done focus around image editing, which makes a lot of sense because that's the name of the class. But also, we can create web pages, full mockups with Photoshop. So I want to go over what is required for the final project, and this I already placed this on the final project folder area with this example of this mockup. And if you click on it, you should be able to see it. So this is just a JPEG. The full requirements for this project are in the final folder. It says final project. So you hear the requirements. I'll be going over this with you. So this is what you're really going to be ending up with. You'll have your own image that you created for project one. So you'll need project one open. So this is my example of project one, with your image, full face and background image. You'll also need to create a logo. You don't have to create anything fancy. You can just use straight type with your initials and a box or a circle, or your full name if you want, but certainly vector and some kind of text. And we'll be bringing that into this final PSD. So I'm going to create this from beginning to end, so you'll be able to follow along with this and create a final mock-up of a web page. Okay, so here are some of the requirements you'll need. You'll be creating a logo, a hero image, navigation, a search box, body copy, and a sidebar. Your dimensions are going to be 960 by 1400, color RGB, a resolution of 72, and background are transparent. All elements must be on a separate layer to be exported. So some of your initial projects, some of you did you did your project but you flattened it, or you made one layer with a background image or with a background layer. You must have each element on here in a separate layer, just like I have it right here. So all my text, my logo, everything is on a separate layer, because you're going to export these into assets. So after you create this final project, you're going to export one as a JPEG. Okay, so you need a PSD file, the JPEG file, as well as the assets, which will be the PNG files of each of these graphics. So basically, when you create a mock-up of a web page and it's approved, you then want to send these images, these graphics, not the text, not the boxes per se, not the footer, but these images, the logos, the hero image, sidebar image, all this information you want to send with the exact size to a web developer, who can then put it into a web page. Okay, so that's the reason for doing it, to the exact size and to be exported, because you want to send these files to someone else who's going to actually build CSS and build the HTML. Okay, so let's start. So the first thing you want to do is going to create a new Photoshop file. Now I'm working in Adobe Creative Cloud. You may have CS6, and almost everything what I'm going to do could be done in CS6, except the final part where we're going to export, and I'll go over that in both CS6 and Creative Cloud. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to create your file at 960 pixels wide by, I believe I have 1300, 1400. We want RGB and 72. Okay, so 1400, 72 RGB, transparent. Okay, make sure all that's good. Awesome. If you have to make this a little bit taller than 1400, is fine. We're gonna save this, so we'll save it in a minute. So we'll say okay. It'll be transparent. So let's save that. I already have one saved. I'll name it final number 2 for me, because I already created one. Yours will just be, whatever you want to name it. Final. We save that. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is kind of create your logo file. So I already created mine. Mine basically is just my initials and a rounded rectangle. So it's as pretty as simple as that. I suggest making the logo. I suggested it here. I would say maybe my logo right now is image size. It's about 400 by 200 at 72, and I shrunk it down a little bit when I brought it over. So I'm not going to recreate this because you can create your own logo, but I will export. So once you create the PSD, you want to go to File, Export, and you can export it as a quick PNG or export as. Now Photoshop is getting out of the Safer Web. So CS6 has Safer Web, but CC Creative Cloud has export. So when you go to the export as, you can choose JPEG, or in this case we'll choose PNG. Notice the size is up here. It's telling you that it's 400 by 200, and you just export that. And I'm going to export this as logo number 2 because I already have logo number 1. I like to create the images folder inside of my final folder, so I keep all my images separately from the actual file. Okay, so back to number 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place embedded. Don't use linked, because when you send the file to me, I won't have your PNG file. So say place embedded. You go find that image file, right? It's in my images folder. Here is logo number 2. I'm going to place that. And for right now, I'm just going to put it here. It's a little large, so I'm going to scale down a little bit. Doesn't have to be the exact size as what I'm doing, but small enough where it's at the top. Then I'm going to get my, so I'm going to get my big hero image. So this I specify what I want it to be. I want this to be with my hero image. I'm going to say it's going to be 960 by 400. So right here, 960 by 400. So you go to your project. So what you want to do to get this exactly, you want to take the crop tool, which is right here, and you want to punch in the numbers. So make sure you have width and height and resolution. So you want to punch in 960 by 400. And then you can move this around. So with the crop tool, it will give you the exact, dimensions that you need, no matter how you crop it. If you scale this down, it's still going to be 960 by 400. So I'm going to just try to get most of the face in there. Obviously, if you go over, you're going to get this extra area. So you want to stay within your file. And you can move it around a little bit. So you can drag it around, or you can use the arrow keys. So I'm going to make sure, and I'll go over. Once you do that, I'm bring it right down a little bit. You can either hit this little check mark right here, or hit the return key, and it's going to automatically crop down to that size. Now if you go to image size, you'll see that your file is exactly what you put in. Now I didn't put my resolution in, so I'm going to actually go back. So I'll put 72 in here, and I'm going to crop it again. So my original file was 300, right? Your original file was also 300. So in order to get to 72, you have to put the 72 in here. So we'll crop that. It will use it. And if you go back to image size, you'll now see 960 by 400 by 72. Okay. So same thing we did with the logo file where we exported it. We're going to do the same thing with your crop file. Now, after you crop it, don't close the file. And when you close the file, don't save, because if you save it, you're going to save your project, your first project. You're going to save it as a cropped image. You don't want to do that. So when you close that image, hit don't save. But before we do that, we're going to go back and we're going to export as, and we're going to export it as a PNG again. All right, here's our size, 960 by 400. We export that, and I'm going to just call it number 2, project 1A number 2. Okay. Alright, so then we go back to our final right here, and I'm gonna do the same thing, place embedded, find my file, my hero image. I'm gonna just see it comes right in and drag that up. Hold down shift if you want to keep it in the same alignment. Okay, so that's 2 down, a little bit higher. Okay, so then we're gonna do is we're gonna get some text in here. So pretty simple. We just take our text tool and we just draw a text box. To save time, I'm just gonna, one of the things you could do when you have a lot of layers in Photoshop and you're trying to figure out which one it is, just hold on the control key and click over it. It'll tell you which layer it is. So if I click over this, it'll automatically select the layer with the text. If I want to get this image, I select it, it's going to jump automatically to that layer. So in this case, I just want the text to copy. I'm just going to click, it'll find the text to me. I'm going to double click and copy that, and I'm going to bring this over here so it's right next to each other. Not doing a good job of that. Okay. Okay, so I have my 2 tabs completed and the one I'm working on. Okay, so over here I'll double click and I'm going to place that copy in there. Nicely came over. Okay, so you have to have some kind of copy on there. You can create whatever you want in your space. You can put the text anywhere you want. If you want to place it over the image, it doesn't matter once it looks good. Okay, so that text will automatically will give you the entire copy in there. So I want to save this just so I make sure I'm not losing anything. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna create this body copy. Same thing, because I have some body copy. I just pulled this from again. I can just click on this. I can click on. Make sure you click exactly on it. So here's my body. Okay, gonna copy that. So right now this is like Avenir 20 point. So I'm gonna just take some my text tool. I'm gonna paste that in. Now if you're getting a lot of trouble seeing what you're doing, what I do sometimes is I just create a layer all the way at the end and I make it white. And go over here and change that to black and white. Flip it over. You can hit Command Delete. Oh, sorry, Option Delete will give you a white background. Command Delete will give you the back. Option Delete will give you the front. And that way you can see what you're doing. When we go to export, we'll just turn this layer off. So I'm going to save this. So we have some text. I want to line up my text with my logo. So I want to hold on my text tool and my logo tool. And make sure your layers are named so it's easy to figure out what's what. And I align that to the left. And that's a nice perfect alignment right there. And the next thing we're going to create is a sidebar. So this will be the end of the first video. I'll probably do about this will take about 3 or 4 videos to complete. So the next video we'll go over doing the sidebar, importing this smaller image, and doing the navigation and the search box. That should probably be in video number 2. Okay? See you in a minute.